Meeting live streamed. Hello, Facebook world.
Hello, everyone.
Give us a few seconds to share here. Share this to SMUG.
So is the most exciting part when you get everything up and running?
Yeah.
We should get one of those screens like the Twitch streamers have. So when we go live, it just sits there with like the cool animation in the background that we're coming.
Yeah. I'm getting more familiar with that. Nobody, like, I don't know how many times, obviously people talk about my voice often on Valorant. So I don't know how many times people are like, that's a soundboard. So about 3 months ago, I just got on Twitch to prove everybody wrong. And 350 people later, it's like I can't miss, Adam.
That's hilarious. I can totally picture you actually doing well on Twitch. So
yeah, I just a few hours here and there, but mostly reading my book. And because I'm like, hey, if they're cool about my voice, then they want to hear me read, because they say that all the time. Read me bedtime stories. Like, all right, you know what? Here, you get a preview of the book. So I'm reading the book on stream occasionally. Anyway, hello, Facebook monster people, ServiceMonster people.
Hello, everyone.
All right, so we should be all sorted. So, Adam, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, we're gonna have probably a pretty quick turnaround here. Hopefully we get some questions, some chat and so forth while we're going on. But the biggest reason for that is because we just had a big event. The Empower webinar was last Thursday. Thank you everyone who attended. It was a great experience. Just heard a ton of positive feedback from everybody. The engagement was high. We answered questions for almost an hour afterwards. There was a chirp presentation that people loved. I know a bunch of people signed up after that. We talked about mobile updates. We talked about FMS self-service, and we talked about the server status and kind of what was going on there. So rather than repeat ourselves, since we have wonderful technology nowadays with recordings and timestamps and things like that, we're just going to kind of direct you guys to a couple of timestamps in that recording, so you guys can kind of see if you're interested in any of that. And if not, that's totally fine. We won't take it personally, I promise. So we'll outline that here in the chat. First and foremost, if you guys are interested in what happened on the server side of things and what we've done to kind of move that forward, and some future things that we're also doing, there's a timestamp for that right towards the beginning of the webinar. We showcase everything that's coming on the mobile app. So it's mobile version 1.5 is what we're calling it. The release number will be 150. And there's a couple of things tied to that. There's a UI update that's pretty massive. Joe is going to show that in the links. You guys can kind of see a sneak peek of what's kind of coming there. We also go over the email editor changes, which was one of the other major overhauls just in the general UI. There are also just some bug fixes, the returning on the 1 day only view. It's a new security rule that will allow you to just show 1 day only. They can't see the past, they can't see the future. It's literally just today. There's some advanced debugging that we're going to be turning on, and we've talked about that in the past, and just a bunch of other kind of cool things. But most interesting to you guys will likely be the UI, the email editor things. So go ahead and take a look at that. There's also a section that talks about SM Lite, which is our new product that we'll be launching shortly. Won't really pertain to a lot of you guys, but if you see that, we want to make sure you guys are aware of what that is. It's a very slimmed down version of the mobile app. It's mobile only. It's for one user only. It's really just sort of made for someone who's just starting out their business. They need something to track their data until they get into sort of that growth mind to actually move into ServiceMonster CRM, doing some gig work on the side, something like that is really what it's designed for. So we talk about that. We also showcase the FMS self-service, what that's going to look like. So we'll send you a link for that here in the notes and chat and so forth. You guys can see the process of what a sign up would look like, what the edit page will look like, and so on and so forth. And so that is also nearing completion. We talk about both of those coming out later in September is sort of the goal for everything there. They'll be offset by at least a week. Want to give marketing a little bit of room to breathe there. But yeah, lots of stuff coming on. And then there's also a whole section on Chirp. If any of you guys want to see, Ryan Finn, the CEO of Chirp himself, was on the webinar, and he goes through an entire walkthrough of kind of what the product looks like, how a ServiceMonster user can use that. He shows a couple of very popular setups that exist, and easy to sign up for a demo if you guys are interested. And so that is also in there. So basically, a lot of really interesting things, or at least we hope that you guys will find them interesting, that are all tied to that. And we will have easy links right there.
Just a quick note on webinars in general. We haven't done them very often. And when we do, we draw in anywhere usually between 100 to 200 folks. And when we've done it, even though we deliver a lot of the value content that you see with us regularly and some of the stuff that we do here on SMUG and YouTube and whatnot, for our webinars, we don't usually use that trick, that lead magnet trick that other companies use, although I might start. So pay attention to those if you're interested in us doing more business-like webinars with the intention of bringing in prospects and then tying ServiceMonster into what we talk about. But what we find when we do those webinars is that they're 99% clients, which is awesome. But we also set those webinars up thinking that we might be talking to prospects. So I think that we're going to abandon that we're going to set up ServiceMonster webinars for ServiceMonster users. And that's what we're going to do. And all you guys like our webinars. And so we're very appreciative of the response that we get, because it's not too terribly difficult for us to set up, but we know that you guys get digital fatigue after a while, right? It's not like we want to do this all the time and overwhelm you. So I think what we will be doing is maybe the pace I'm looking at now is maybe once a quarter, ServiceMonster will put on a webinar. 3 times a year, they'll be business related. Once a year, they'll be release related, or kind of like where we're at in the State of the Union. And that could change. Maybe we'll do an every other type of a thing so that you guys are getting something dedicated to you every 6 months. But we do these SMUG things, right? So to you guys, kind of the more diehard fans who pay attention to us on a more regular basis, not more content doesn't necessarily mean more information, right? And so we don't want to take up your time or take up too much of your the amount of attention that you're willing to spend with us. So we're going to break it up. We're going to give you guys what you want. We're going to talk about ServiceMonster in ServiceMonster webinars, and then maybe start doing some of these other more business related, how to help your business grow. And then, you can use ServiceMonster to do a lot of things that we talked about type structure. They're called lead magnets, and that will be dedicated to drawing in prospects. So watch for that rhythm coming over the next few months. Yeah.
Another thing I didn't mention, but want to make sure it gets mentioned for any of you guys who weren't on the webinar, but one of the things that we had some really exciting giveaways. And that is something to kind of keep an eye on. It won't necessarily be in every webinar, or so it kind of depends on
or we might not give away $4,500 worth of stuff either, right?
Right. But we're super excited for all of our giveaway winners. That went really well. So while we were talking there, Carrie asked a question about the login screen disconnecting from Wi-Fi, having to force close the app and reload. Are we ever getting around to fixing that? And the answer is we are trying. We've gone through a ton of diagnostics on this. We've never been able to recreate it in-house. You're not the only one who's mentioned it, Carrie. It's definitely come up with multiple users that I've talked to personally. And so it's frustrating for everyone, and that's one of the reasons why we're adding this advanced debugging mode, and we're basically trying to go further and further into the analytical and diagnostic tools that we can use when it's needed for situations like this. We're hoping that you'll participate in that too, right? Because everybody's frustrated, and we want to stomp this problem, and it's a very small number of users from what we can tell. And again, like Adam says, it's very hard to recreate. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you kind of a magic button that will send extra data to us when this stuff happens. And hopefully we'll be able to identify where exactly this is occurring, because it's not very clear to us.
So Ethan's got to, kind of try to figure out what's wrong before we can fix it. Right. And if we can't recreate it, it's really tough to fix it. And so we know that some of you guys are frustrated with this. And we're certainly frustrated with it. And we want to solve it as quickly as we can. So is it 1.5 that we'll be getting the diagnostic tools, or are we doing it after the 1.5 release?
Well, the basics of it are in right now. We're trying to get it into 1.5. If it's not in 1.5, it'll be immediately after, like the following week or two.
So that extra diagnostic will help us identify, hopefully, or at least more clearly, where to look. So it could be one of these things. I love tying in analytics, because 8 times out of 10, I can identify exactly what's going on and just go ninja solve it. And that Adam's like, what'd you do? And Ethan is the same way when we can see it. So we're hoping this data gives us visibility into the problem.
Yeah. Really want to get that resolved for you guys. So thanks for asking that, Carrie. The other thing that I wanted to mention, just in terms of general release. So we have the FMS self edits that's coming. That's release 6.7. If you guys want to kind of retain that. We have another kind of mid-size release that's coming out in a week or two that is 6.6.7. So still in the 6.6 sub-release. And that was actually originally going to release this week, but we're holding it off for one major reason. We're making some infrastructure changes in our test environment that are similar to the changes we did in the production, where we're rebuilding the VM that is on there. We've had the occasional weirdness already kind of ongoing for, 6, 8, 9 months at this point. And I'm sure some of you guys, the test environment's kind of like the redheaded stepchild, compared to production, right? It's sort of like sometimes you put up with some weirdness there just because you have to prioritize things, right? It's just kind of the nature of the business. But when we move to the new network, we're seeing some very unique weirdness on our test and what we call stage environment, which is sort of like another step backwards. It's like the experimentation phase. We're seeing some weirdness, and we're 98% sure it's because of the VM and the new network not playing nice. We did a bunch of kind of deep dive debugging with a couple of our senior devs and some of the junior devs as well. And that's what we think it is. But I don't ever want to release something with what we think it is. Yeah, we push it to production, everything's fine. That's a QA nightmare. That's the kind of thing that keeps me up at night and our QA team up at night, because it's frustrating when you're testing things and you're just like, well, this is happening. We don't think it's happening because of the build itself, but it is happening. So I don't know if I can pass this or not, so to speak.
Yeah, we can't pass it.
So we're basically kind of sitting on that. The new VM should be up towards the end of next week, and we will resume testing at that point. And then the release should be out the following. And that has some really cool changes for one of our corporate networks. And there's also just a ton of bug fixes and small feature stuff that has kind of been piling up over the last few weeks. So want to get that out for you guys before the big 6.7 release. So that's kind of what's coming up. We can also kind of just jump right into some SMUG stuff really quick. Obviously, big focus this month was about the server stuff. So like I said, kind of refer back to that section of the webinar where we talk about that if you guys are curious to learn more.
Wait, let me do an LDTR real quick.
Yeah.
End result is our performance right now has seen a 10% performance gain to prior when we had those issues from the infrastructure move. Details are in the link, but I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that we're not done working on it. I saw a couple other things that we can do, and our technology is so fluid. Like, our tech is so good. It allows us to do things that other companies would have to scramble and figure out a rebuild to do, but we can just do really cool things with the infrastructure to really try to drive this performance to get it really, really good. And then I know one of the things right now that's a big issue is imaging. Like, I see on the reports all the time, it's taking minutes to upload some of these images, and I don't know why yet. So I'm pulling the whole dev team together, and Adam's helping me identify where we're at. And then I'm looking at best practices, offline servers, like whatever the best way to upload an image from your phone and ServiceMonster desktop to our servers, we will do that. That's what we will do. and it will be super easy for us to update it because of the way our tech works again. So I'm very excited for that. And little things like that add up because the CPU on our servers are taking up time and holding that request hostage while everything else is flying by at less than 100 milliseconds per request. Like our average response times are insane. Like they're so good. But every once in a while, there's this spike you'll feel. And some of that has to do with the CPU suddenly going, oh, shoot, I got to upload 5 images. Chirr, 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 chirr. Right. And then those 100 millisecond request times turn into 700 millisecond request times. And then you've got 5 of those before your page loads. Right. And so now before your page loads in under a second, now your page load takes 3 seconds. And it takes 20 seconds and then it all goes away and then everything zip, zip, zip again. But man, alive, that 3 seconds is an eternity sometimes. So we're fixing all that. Like, anything that I see, I'm smashing down, offloading, processing. So this is like 2 years ago. I don't know if you guys remember that when I went through the big update and just started shoving out like these massive underground infrastructure changes. And actually, it was kind of panicking for the team, I know, because nobody else really knew what the hell was going on. They just knew Joe was checking in stuff and we were compiling and pushing out to production and like things are getting better. But it was, when I do that, I kind of drive everybody nuts. But anyway, I won't get off too much. So you can see more details on that if you go to the link in the webinar.
And that is a glimpse of our working relationship. Yeah. So we go into great detail on that. And like Joe said, there's only more positive stuff coming. So we're excited to get that out. So let's dive into some SMUG questions really quick. The first one came in and we thought it would be nice to generate a little bit of discussion, just kind of get the current, answer out there. Lewis had asked, is QuickBooks the only accounting program that ServiceMonster will work with? And the answer right now is yes.
Yes. Yeah, unfortunately. That's a make me thing, right?
Right.
I mean, if 99.9% of our users who use an offsite accounting software use QuickBooks, and I've got 3 clients who use Xero, right? Because they saw it is cool internationally. And so it's an actual player and they use it here. Or they're a big business and use Sage or MYOB or any of these guys, right? If I have 3 clients, the amount of resources that it takes to do a proper integration to an accounting software, we'd have to take Dave offline for 3 months per integration. So that's one of our, lowest level resources that would be not available in other projects in order to get that done. Not impossible, but certainly an effort. But sorry, not worth 3 people paying $150 a month, right? So, it's got to make business economic. So that's one of those make me things. You get enough people. And maybe as we move into other industries like HVAC, right? Maybe they're using Sage at scale. And, we start looking at, we keep losing deals on HVAC, not because of the software, but because we don't have integration with Sage. Well, projects is going to be a higher price tag than ServiceMonster CRM, which is what you guys are using right now. Projects will be for electricians, plumbers, and HVAC people. So yeah, we'll be forced to do it at some point. I'm not saying that that's the path that we'll take. I'm just giving you a potential scenario. So,
right, sort of a glimpse behind the scene, and that's really, that's a question for a product manager in general, right? When anytime a request comes through, I would love. We get tons of great ideas, and the small ones we
have 2,500 trackers of great ideas in the database.
It's really we kind of reference there's 2 things, right? There's the priority side of things, like how much does this impact? There's also the effort side of things, right? And so it's like,
what, this might be interesting for them since this is more into question time anyways.
Yeah.
How you determine which projects in your company that you want to tackle. You can develop a real easy metric in order to do this. So let's say there's projects around your shop and you think that you can gain some efficiency in your business. Maybe there's you want to do better, implement more of the CRM, like whatever it is, right? Make your equipment better. You want to change out some things. So some research goes in that. Maybe you want to upgrade your chemicals or gear, what have you, processes, whatever. It can be literally any project in your business that you have to dedicate resources to that you think will result in an improvement. How do you prioritize all of these things in addition to like just doing the work, the daily work in order to bring in the cash? you can create a metrics and basically say, well, how much effort is this thing going to take? Is it going to take a little bit of effort, or is it going to take a lot of effort? Right. And you can really just make it that easy, because you don't want to create too deep of a matrix. On your, so you can use that on your X. On your Y, you can use what's the impact? Is it a little impact, or is it a big impact? Okay, so once you've done that with the projects that you have on the table, just go assassinate all the little bigs. Like anything that takes a little bit amount of effort that results in a big impact in your business, those should be no-brainers. Too many people get caught up because they don't really look at it this way in little littles or big littles. So they're wasting their time, a big amount of their time or effort, even a small amount of time or effort that don't bring a lot of impact in their business compared to what they could be doing if they were focused in the right areas. So just a little way to help you kind of prioritize your projects that can help you build your business. That's the thing that's like working on your business instead of in it, right?
Absolutely. I'm gonna do Zapier one last. There was another one from Scott that came in, and I wanted to shine a light on this one for two reasons. One, Scott asked about looking up at customers' appointment history, and a bunch of you guys jumped in, and I always want to shine that. I always appreciate when you guys kind of come in and help each other out, especially with some of the more business-oriented questions and things that come up. It's always great to see. But this one, I thought it would be good to do just a really quick screen share. Mine went blank there for a second, to just show you guys what we're talking about. So I am here on an account. Adam Banner, he's the Hulk's younger brother. There are a couple of tabs in the appointment, or I'm sorry, in the account section. There's appointment history and there's your general history. The general history is where all of your sort of transactions are going to be. So you're going to see your orders, your invoices, your payments, any billing statements you send out. It's sort of like the documented side of things, right? The appointment history we split out for good reason. For example, a lot of invoices might have multiple appointments tied to them, especially if you guys have an on-site kind of sales process, right? We have the estimate first and then an invoice comes later. So if you're looking for a specific date that a job happened, the appointment history might be where you want to be looking instead. And so this is going to show every appointment that's been scheduled. You can obviously, it's going to be sorted already, pre-sorted, but you can look for specific dates with a filter here. Just click the little filter button, select the date, and so forth. So just wanted to kind of point that out. If that ever caused anyone any confusion, just kind of wanted to share that. The last question then came in from Pete, and I love Pete. So there are a couple of things I wanted to shine a light on this. First off, Pete, if you're watching, you're always amazing. You have great questions and things that you bring in. You've also been super helpful to others, so always appreciate that. But he also sent in a video. When someone is having an issue, I'm not saying all of you guys need to have some setup and go buy a boom arm with a mic and do some crazy video edit
production. Yeah. Right. I want you to be on social media creating content, and I don't even say get that stuff for that. Just flip your camera around and go. So.
Right. But if you're having an issue and you're able to record yourself walking through that, it makes it that much easier to kind of potentially find where the problem is, or to answer, or so forth. Going back and forth via email or on the phone sometimes, it's not necessarily the easiest thing. So anytime you guys have the ability to do that, we will never shy away from that. But Pete was asking about Zapier, and he had a trigger and an action trying to, I believe he was doing something with the Google Sheet actually. So pretty basic integration overall, but he wasn't able to get all of the account fields that he needed. He needed the account email, and I think it was just the email, but maybe a couple others. So I wanted to show something here and explain kind of why this is the case, and also show for any of our Zapier users. So this is just a standard, what they call a Zap, sort of a pipeline that you're setting up in Zapier, right, for a specific purpose. They're always going to start with a trigger. right? So in this case, we're having a job created in ServiceMonster. I've got this linked to an account. And what I want is for this to do something at the end here, which in my case, in my test case, is actually the same thing as what he was doing, but I'm just creating a spreadsheet row in Google Sheets. So maybe I've got like a lead document or something. Maybe I'm doing something after the fact where I'm checking reviews or whatever I might be doing, right? At the end of the day, I want this to trigger and pass along information to Google Sheets. The problem is that the way that the database is structured, each part of the app, they all have unique tables to them. And Joe could probably explain this better than I do, but in essence, when you're pulling up, the jobs table, for example, there are certain records that are stored there. And then there are also records that are stored on the account table or the orders table or so on and so forth. And the way that these are created, that's what they're looking at, is that table of data. So sometimes if you need extra information, we have these actions, and there's actually a couple of them. I'll highlight this. The main one is get account by ID in ServiceMonster. There's also a get job by ID, get order by ID, and the account profile as well. So these are things that you can basically do a search to look something up and get additional data. So what this means is that I have a job created in ServiceMonster. I then do a lookup by the account by ID that this job has, because that is how the records are tied together, right? The account ID is stored on the job, right? So we know which account it is. Then I can go to this last step. And now that I've got this information, I can grab stuff from the account. So, ignore, I've just got some random fields in here, but here I can now enter data from the first trigger, right? So I can show all the options here. Or I can go to the get account by ID, and it has its own sections. Now you can also just search all the available fields. Like I could just search email here. Email. And it would grab the various things that are listed as email there. But basically what that gives you is access to additional information. So if you're ever in a situation like this where you need that additional data, try looking up the order ID, the account ID, etc., whatever you might need to help grab information that accesses that table. Does that make sense to everyone? Does that make sense to you, Joe?
I could have built Zapier, so yes. That's unfair, right?
I think that's the easiest way to explain it. So if any of you guys are Zapier users, you have an issue, I hope that potentially helps. So
do we have any kind of decent help documentation for that level of linking using lookups?
We have very basic on the account ID stuff and a couple of the things that Mary had put together. It's on my list.
Just so you guys are aware what's going on behind the scenes. Remember Stephanie? I don't know if you guys have been around long enough for Stephanie. Stephanie was our first Mary. And Stephanie did great. Mary was on a whole other level, man. I still look at the stuff that she did. It's just phenomenal. She had it all. And we're desperately trying to find someone to replace her. Remember my big mantra of hire slow? I think I'm now on my 5th round of people. Now this particular position has an interesting interview process because it's a on camera, often social media active documentation type of a position. If the resume looks halfway decent, I could just send them an email and say, yo, send me back a 1 to 5 minute video talking about how you see yourself in this position. 50% of them will eliminate themselves. So I don't have to worry about the interview, right? They won't do the video, or they'll try to do it and they'll feel some kind of way about it. Maybe they haven't done much video or been in the front of the camera before. Maybe they go then look at their work before they send it and go, man, they feel some kind of way about it, so they don't send it. I don't know. There's a handful of scenarios, but it seems that I don't get very many of them back. The ones that I do, man, it's super easy to tell when, I remember seeing Stephanie's video. I remember seeing Mary's video. I remember that. So they made an impact so easy just by flipping the camera, just by flipping their phone around. So I'm desperately hunting for the new Mary. When we find them, what's amazing is Mary's done such a good job at the foundation. Like most of the work that Mary had to do was setting up the proper help system because it was kind of a hodgepodge at that point. Stephanie had done some documentation work via video, but it wasn't really tied into our online help documentation. We were splitting between 5 and 6 by that point, right? 6 wasn't like in full swing. And we had mobile and all kinds of stuff. And it was kind of all over the place. So Mary did an amazing job pulling that together and helping us build out some of the initial stuff that you see in the in-app training. And I really want to build that out more, but that takes that skill set. So when we bring the new person in, getting caught up will be their primary first goal. And that'll help them learn things pretty quickly because they'll be updating stuff in a handful of documents like this, making sure there's good documentation around Zapier. And then once they're at cruising altitude, then they could just keep pushing forward because Mary was at a really good spot where we were just ahead of development. And that was pretty phenomenal to have. So in short, I miss Mary. Yeah.
We all do. Yep. She is doing great from what I've heard. So
yeah. Teaching kids something about science at a museum. How badass is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I had for you though, Joe. The main thing is if you're interested in learning more, if you weren't on the webinar, check out those links and I'll pass it off to you.
Absolutely. Very good. Well, thank you so much for your attention, everyone. We won't try to stick around and take up too much of your time. Again, lots of good links and good information from the webinar broken up so you can see individual sections. I'll be posting the links in this chat. And if you have any questions, feel free to hit us up on SMUG. Have a great day.